Hi there and welcome to Planet Zoo. Today I'm doing a full breakdown and ranking the animals in the Barnyard Animal Pack. As is the norm, I'll be ranking each new animal based on a specific set of factors. So that's appeal, mating capabilities, upkeep costs and versatility. Interesting point to note for this ranking, there's no exhibit animal included in the Barnyard Animal Pack, so we're not going to see any default wins here for things like upkeep, which has become a bit of a trend for some of the other recent rankings that I've created. First up for the ranking is appeal. Appeal's based on how popular an animal is, and that affects things like the number of visitors and visitor happiness. Taking a sample of the new animals available in the trade centre, rankings are as follows. In 7th place is the Tamworth pig, which from the sample of animals I've reviewed seems to garner an appeal rating of about 750 to 831. Worth bearing in mind, this is a pretty low appeal rating, not just for the Barnyard Animal Pack, but across the whole game. All of the animals in the new pack are coming in at a low appeal rating when compared to the rest of the game, so at least it's a fairly even spread, but even with that in mind, the Tamworth pig is the lowest. In 6th place is the American Standard donkey, faring just slightly better in appeal range of 766 to 831. 5th place goes to the Hill Radnor Sheep with an appeal rating of, again, 766 to 893. That 766 for the lowest appeal rating seems to come up a lot with these animals, which does bring me to the next point. The rankings for the 4th, 3rd and 2nd place is a three-way tie between the Alpaca, Alpine Goat and the Sussex chicken, all ranging in appeal from 766 again to 1,000 points. That means first place goes to the Highland Cattle, faring slightly better at an appeal rating of 1,150 to 1,350. So that's the scores for appeal. Next ranking, I've looked at mating, birth rate and the longevity of each species. In 7th place is the American Standard donkey. Donkeys take 2.5 years to mature, so there is a bit of a waiting period there. What lets the donkey down is they will only produce one baby per birth, and you can only keep 6 of them together in a habitat. So not much going on in terms of breeding with the donkeys there. That said, the donkeys will live around 35 years, making them the longest living animal in this pack, and they will keep producing right up to death. So they do have that going for them. In 6th place is the Highland Cattle. The cattle take even longer to mature at 3 years and will take 14 months before they're ready to breed again. Like the donkeys, they'll also produce just one baby per pregnancy. They do breed right up to death at around 19 years, but what puts the Highland Cattle slightly higher than the donkey in the ranking is that you can have 20 of them in the habitat, so there'll be more pregnancies at the same time. In 5th place, I've got the Alpaca. Alpacas take 3 years to mature, will only produce one baby every 11 months, but what ranks them higher is you can have up to 40 alpacas in an enclosure, so double what you get for the Highland Cattle. In 4th place is the Alpine Goat. The goats take 1.5 years to mature, and they can produce 1 to 3 babies per pregnancy every 7 months. You can have 30 Alpine goats in an enclosure at any time, and they'll be breeding for around 18 years, so a pretty good deal there with the goats. In 3rd place is the Tamworth pig. The pigs take just 1 year to mature. They can have 2 to 5 babies per pregnancy every 8 months, so a lot of babies potentially there. What lets the pigs down slightly is the maximum you can have in a habitat, which is just 5. Probably for the best really, with that number of offspring per birth. 2nd place goes to the Hill Radnor Sheep. The sheep take 8 months to mature and can produce 2 babies every 7 months. They'll breed for about 8 years, so not a long lifespan, but what sets them apart is the fact you can have 50 of them in a habitat. That's potentially a lot of sheep, so mating wise the sheep are almost out on top, but not quite. First place is reserved for the Sussex chicken. The mating and birthing habitats of the chickens is unbeatable. Taking just 8 months to mature, the chickens can have 2 to 4 babies per birth, and a new breeding window opens every 5 months. That's a lot. Even better, you can house up to 80 chickens in one habitat, and believe me, at the rate they're giving birth, that won't be hard to achieve. The downside for the chickens is that they will only live for around 6.5 years, but boy will they be busy for that time. The next ranking is the cost of upkeep. This is based on maximum capacity for each enclosure, so the food costs for the most animals you can keep in an enclosure. In 7th place, this is the Highland Cattle, costing a whopping $200 per animal per feed. 6th place goes to the Alpaca. Not sure why alpacas are so expensive, but each feed will cost you $100 per animal. 5th place is the American Standard Donkey at $79 per donkey. Next is another unprecedented 3-way tie. In 4th, 3rd and 2nd place, it's the Alpine Goat, Radnor Sheep and Tamworth Pig, all costing $45 per animal per feed. That means, once again, 1st place goes to the Sussex Chicken, costing just $13 per animal per feed. The final ranking in my list is about habitat versatility, so I'm measuring things like the habitat size and interspecies enrichment capabilities. Normally for this ranking, I'd also include confidence as part of the ranking, but all 7 of the new Barnyard Animal Pack animals are confident species. Again, this kind of makes sense with the pack because animals that weren't confident with humans would not work out on a farm. So overall, the versatility of all the animals in this pack is pretty high. So there's less for me to judge here in terms of versatility. In 7th place is the American Standard Donkey. The habitat size requirement is medium to large at 1,250 metres squared, which when you consider the maximum capacity is 6 donkeys, that's one of the largest requirements of the pack. The donkeys share interspecies enrichment with one other animal, which normally would garner a bonus point. However, all the animals in the Barnyard Pack have interspecies enrichment with at least one other animal, so for the ranking of this pack, it's not as much of a bonus as it normally would be. In 6th place is the Sussex Chicken. The chickens also have interspecies enrichment with one other animal. What lets the chickens down here is the space requirements. For being such a tiny animal, at maximum capacity of 80 chickens, you'll need to reserve 1,148 metres squared space for them, which considering their size, I'd say is a lot in comparison to many of the other animals in Planet Zoo. In 5th place is the Alpaca. Alpacas need a little more space, 1,690 metres squared, but for this you can house 40 altogether, and they share an interspecies bonus with 2 other animals. In 4th place is the Alpine Goat. The goat's versatility is pretty close to that of the alpacas, coming in at 1,115 metres squared space requirement for 30 goats, and also sharing interspecies enrichment with 2 other animals. 3rd place goes to the Radnor Sheep. The sheep have the largest space requirement in this pack, needing a whopping 3,120 metres squared for a full set of 50 sheep. I debated ranking them lower for this reason, however, the sheep share interspecies enrichment with 4 other animals, and it's hard to ignore the extent of that bonus, hence placing them 3rd for versatility ranking. In 2nd place is the Highland Cattle. Considering their size, the cattle need less space than I'd assumed they would need, just 1,975 metres squared for 20 of them. They also share interspecies enrichment with 4 other animals, so placing them quite highly here in the versatility ranking. However, 1st place for versatility, I've awarded this to the Tamworth Pig. Granted, you can only have 5 of them in a habitat, but space-wise, you only need 370 metres squared for a full complement of pigs. That's far superior to any of the other animals in this pack. On top of that, the pigs share interspecies enrichment with 3 other animals, so not as good as the sheep or the cattle, but needing less space pushes them into the top for this ranking. That brings us to the overall ranking for all of the categories. Tallying up all of the scores, in 7th place this goes to the American Standard Donkey. I wouldn't say there's anything particularly bad about the donkey, just that there's some very competitive species in this pack in terms of the rankings. The breeding isn't the best though, and having so few donkeys to start with a bigger space requirement, that pushes them into last place. Coming in 6th is the alpaca. I personally think they're a great species. They're very adorable, super cute, and I do feel bad scoring them this low. They'd be a great addition to any zoo, and for sure if I was doing an all animal ranking, the alpacas would certainly be close to the top rather than the bottom here. Yeah, so they are 6th here, but in comparison to the entirety of all animals in Planet Zoo, I'd rate them quite highly. 5th place goes to the Highland Cattle. The space requirements, feed costs and breeding patterns mean a lot of the cattle species end up placing middle of the pack. That's just how it goes for all cattle in Planet Zoo, unfortunately. Not a lot really I can say about that, it's just the mechanics of how the game works. In 4th place is the Tamworth Pig. They scored near the top for some categories, but being able to place so few in a habitat brings their score down to 4th. Next we have a tie, so joint 3rd and 2nd place, this goes to the Alpine Goat and the Hill Radnor Sheep. Both scored well in a lot of categories, just not quite as well as our winner for this pack. Coming out on top for the ranking of the Barnyard Animal Pack, it's the Sussex chicken. Notable qualities, they're pretty cheap, they breed like crazy, and you can have a lot of them all together. In my opinion, they're clear winners for this pack, so well done Sussex chicken. So there we are, hope this ranking has been informative. Let me know if you disagree with any of them in the comments. I do love to see what everybody else thinks too. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next video.